Let me ask you something. You know who Elon Musk is. You know who Jeff Bezos is. You know who Mukesh Ambani is. But have you ever heard of Marc Rich or Ivan Glasenberg or the Bar brothers? Probably not. And yet, these men and the companies they built have had more influence over your daily life than almost any politician or tech billionaire you can name. The price of the petrol in your car, the cost of the wheat in your bread, the minerals in your phone, the oil that heats your home, all of it, every single commodity that makes modern life possible passes through the hands of a small, secretive group of traders who most people have never heard of. The World for Sale by Javier, Blas, and Jack Farchy changed how I see the world. And today, I want to tell you why. The World for Sale is a non-fiction investigation into the commodity trading industry, the businesses that buy and sell oil, grain, metals, and minerals across the world. Written by two Bloomberg journalists, Javier Blas and Jack Farchy, it is one of the most thoroughly researched books I have read in a long time. And I want to be honest about where I started. I knew almost nothing about commodity trading before picking this up. I understood roughly that oil was traded, that grain moved between countries, but the scale, the complexity, the human stories behind it, I had no idea. By the time I finished, I genuinely understood how the world works in a way I didn't before. That is a rare thing for a book to do, and it is the highest compliment I can give. Let me tell you the thing that fascinated me most. The World for Sale traces how specific regions of the world became powerful, not through democracy or military strength, but through the commodities sitting beneath their soil. Take the Middle East. We all know it's powerful because of oil, but this book shows you exactly how that power was built, deal by deal, trader by trader, over decades. How the commodity traders were there before the governments fully understood what they had. How they negotiated contracts that would shape entire economies. Take South America. The book reveals how it became the hub of so many trace minerals, lithium, copper, rare earths, that are now essential to the global energy transition. The traders who identified this decades ago and positioned themselves accordingly became extraordinarily wealthy. Take Africa, caught in the middle of commodity superpowers, its resources extracted and traded by companies whose headquarters were thousands of miles away. And then China, the story of how China's infrastructure boom, spending trillions on roads, railways, and cities, created an unprecedented demand for commodities that reshaped the entire global trading system, is one of the most compelling chapters in the book. And through all of it, America, maintaining dominance not just through military power but through the dollar, because almost every commodity on earth is priced in dollars. That single fact gives America a lever over the global economy that most people never think about. Reading all of this, I kept thinking, why did nobody teach me this in school? Now, let me tell you about the people at the center of all this. Before reading this book, I assumed the wealthiest, most powerful people in the world were the ones I could name: tech billionaires, industrialists, politicians. I was wrong. The commodity traders who built companies like Glencore, Vitol, and Trafigura are among the wealthiest human beings on the planet, and almost nobody outside financial circles knows their names. Marc Rich, arguably the most fascinating figure in the book, built a commodity trading empire so powerful that he was simultaneously one of the most wanted men in America and doing business with governments across the world. His story reads like a thriller because it essentially is one. But what struck me most was not their wealth, it was their willingness to go to extraordinary lengths to complete a trade. These traders separated in war zones. They did business with sanctioned governments. They moved commodities through conflict regions. They bent rules and sometimes broke them in the pursuit of deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And through all of it, the driving principle was simple: money first, everything else second. And this brings me to the part of this book that stayed with me the longest: the moral question. Because there is a moment reading this book where you have to sit with something uncomfortable. These traders created genuine value. They moved food to countries that needed it. They supplied oil to economies that would have collapsed without it. They kept global supply chains functioning in ways that benefited billions of people. And simultaneously, they did business with dictators. They profited from conflict. They prioritized their margins of the human cost of where those commodities come from. Both things are true at the same time. And the book doesn't tell you how to feel about that. It just shows you the evidence and lets you decide. I found that genuinely difficult because it's easy to condemn people who profit from human suffering, but it is harder to reckon with the fact that the systems they build, however ruthlessly, are the same systems that put food on tables and fuel in cars across the developing world. The World for Sale does not give you easy answers, and that is exactly why it is a great book. My one criticism, and it's a real one, is repetition. The authors make the same point multiple times across the book that commodity traders are willing to go to any length, bend any rule to complete a trade. The first time you read this, it is shocking. The fifth time you read it, in a slightly different anecdote, it begins to feel like the authors don't trust you to have understood the point. The book could have been 20% shorter without losing anything essential. For a reader who's already convinced by page 200, the remaining page occasionally feel like the authors are making absolutely sure you got the message. It's a minor criticism of an otherwise exceptional book, but it's an honest one. The World for Sale is one of the most genuinely eye opening books I have read in years. I started it knowing almost nothing about commodity trading. I finished it understanding how the world actually works, not how we are told it works, but how it actually works. Who really controls the price of oil? Why certain countries are rich and others are poor? How a small group of secretive traders shape the geopolitical map we live on today. After finishing this book, I now follow commodity markets in a way I never did before. I read about oil prices, grain supply, mineral demand differently, because now I understand the human stories behind the numbers. If you are curious about how the world works, read this book. If you are interested in geopolitics, economics, or modern history, read this book. And if you simply want to understand why the world looks the way it does today, read this book. It will change how you see everything. Have you read The World for Sale? Tell me in the comments. What was the revelation that hit you hardest? And if you haven't read it, does this review make you want to? I'm genuinely curious because this is a book that deserves a much wider audience than it currently has. Most people will never pick up a book about commodity trading, and most people will therefore never understand the forces that shape their daily lives. That seems like a problem worth fixing. Subscribe if you want more honest book reviews like this one every week on Loren Lens. See you in the next one.